I want you to think about the last time you truly slept. I don't mean the kind of sleep where you close your eyes and fast forward to morning. I mean the kind of deep, restorative slumber where you wake up feeling like a completely new person. A sleep so good that you feel lighter, sharper, and ready to attack the day. For many of you watching this, that feeling is a distant memory. Instead, your reality is very different. You go to bed exhausted, hoping tonight will be different. But then, at 2 or 3 a.m., you are suddenly wide awake. You stare at the ceiling. You check the clock. You calculate how many hours you have left before the alarm goes off. You might even feel a spike of anxiety, knowing that tomorrow is going to be a struggle. If you are over the age of 50, you have likely been told that this is just part of the package. You hear phrases like, "Seniors are naturally light sleepers," or "You just don't need as much rest as you used to." I need you to understand that these statements are not just incorrect, they are dangerous myths. The truth is, your body's biological requirement for sleep does not drop off a cliff when you turn 50. Whether you are 25 or 75, your brain and body demand 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep to function. What changes is not the need, but the machinery. As we age, the neurological systems that generate deep sleep become weaker and more fragile. But here is the good news. You can repair that machinery. You can retrain your brain. In this comprehensive guide, we are going to move beyond basic advice like buy a better pillow. We are going to explore the neuroscience of why you wake up, the critical link between sleep and Alzheimer's disease, how sleep deprivation is silently ruining your metabolism, and finally, a scientifically proven protocol to reclaim your nights. Part 1. The brain's nightly detox. Let's start with the most critical organ, your brain. Why do we actually sleep? For decades, scientists thought sleep was just a way for the body to save energy. We now know it is much more profound than that. Every moment you are awake, your neurons are firing. They are processing information, making decisions, and forming memories. This biological activity creates metabolic waste products. Think of it like a car engine running all day. It produces exhaust. One of the primary waste products in the brain is a sticky, toxic protein called beta amyloid. When you are awake, this waste accumulates in your brain tissue. If it isn't cleared away, it builds up and forms plaques. These plaques are the hallmark of Alzheimer's disease and dementia. So, how does the brain clean itself? It has a specialized sewage system called the glymphatic system. But here's the catch. This system is completely shut down when you are awake. It only kicks into high gear during deep, non-REM sleep. During this deep stage of sleep, your brain cells literally shrink by up to 60%. This creates wider channels for cerebral spinal fluid to rush through and wash away the beta amyloid toxins. Here's the problem for those over 50. As we age, we naturally spend less time in that deep restorative phase. If you are sleeping for 6 hours but waking up frequently, you are likely missing that deep cleaning cycle. It's like running a dishwasher but stopping it before the rinse cycle finishes. The dirt remains. Over 10 or 20 years, that accumulation can lead to significant cognitive decline. So, when we talk about sleep, we aren't just talking about feeling groggy. We are talking about the long-term preservation of your mind and your memories. Part 2. The metabolic disaster. Now let's look down at the body. Specifically, let's talk about your weight and your blood sugar. It's a common frustration among my patients over 50. They say, "I am eating the same foods I always did. I am walking every day, but I keep gaining weight around the midsection." They blame their metabolism, but often the real culprit is sleep deprivation. When you sleep less than 7 hours, your body enters a state of metabolic confusion. It disrupts two key hormones, ghrelin and leptin. Ghrelin is the hunger hormone. It tells you to eat. Leptin is the satiety hormone.
It tells you to stop. When you are tired, ghrelin spikes and leptin crashes. This means your brain is screaming at you to eat, specifically craving high-calorie carbohydrates and sugars, while simultaneously losing the ability to feel full. You are fighting a losing battle against your own biochemistry. But it gets worse. Lack of sleep triggers a condition known as insulin resistance. In a famous study, healthy young men were restricted to 4 hours of sleep for just 6 nights. By the end of the week, their blood sugar profiles looked like those of pre-diabetic patients. Their cells stopped responding to insulin properly. Now, imagine that effect compounded over years of poor sleep. This is why sleep is often the missing piece in the puzzle of type 2 diabetes and obesity management. If you want to lose weight, the gym is important, but the bedroom is where the foundation is built. Part 3. Emotional regulation. There is one more area we must discuss before we get to the solutions: your mood. Have you noticed that when you are tired, you are more irritable? You snap at your spouse, you have less patience with your grandchildren, and the world just feels more negative. This isn't a character flaw. It is a neurological failure. There's a part of your brain called the amygdala. It's the center of emotional reactions: fear, anger, the fight-or-flight response. Usually, the amygdala is kept in check by the prefrontal cortex, the logical, reasoning part of your brain. Think of the prefrontal cortex as the parent and the amygdala as the toddler. Sleep deprivation effectively disconnects the parent from the toddler. Without sleep, the connection between these two areas weakens. The amygdala runs wild. Your emotional brakes fail. This is why everything feels overwhelming when you are exhausted. Prioritizing sleep is not just for your health. It's for the health of your relationships and your emotional well-being. Part 4. The architecture of a good night's sleep. So, knowing all of this, how do we fix it? How do we engineer a perfect night of sleep when our biology is fighting against us? We need to focus on a concept called sleep hygiene. It sounds clinical, but it really just means setting up your environment and your habits to align with your natural circadian rhythm. We're going to break this down into a specific protocol involving light, temperature, and chemistry. The first pillar is light. Your sleep cycle actually begins the moment you wake up. Deep inside your brain is a master clock called the supracardiomatic nucleus. This clock needs to be set every single morning.
The trigger for this clock is sunlight. When sunlight hits your eyes, it signals your brain to release cortisol, the energy hormone, and to start a countdown timer for the release of melatonin 12 to 14 hours later. So your first actionable step is this: within 30 minutes of waking up, go outside. Get 10 to 20 minutes of natural daylight. Do not wear sunglasses. If you can't go out, sit by a bright window. This anchors your biological rhythm. Conversely, in the evening, you need darkness. Artificial light, especially blue light from phones, tablets, and TVs, mimics the frequency of the sun. If you stare at an iPad at 10 p.m., you are chemically shouting at your brain that it is noon. Your brain suppresses melatonin, and you lose that wave of sleepiness. The rule is simple. 1 hour before bed, the screens go off. Dim the lights in your house. Switch to warm, red or orange-hued lamps. The second pillar is temperature. Our ancestors slept outdoors or in caves where temperatures dropped significantly at night. Evolutionarily, our bodies associate a drop in temperature with sleep. For you to initiate deep sleep, your core body temperature must drop by about 2 to 3 degrees Fahrenheit. If your room is too hot or your blankets are too heavy, your body struggles to cool down and you will wake up. Set your thermostat between 65 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit. If that feels too cold, wear socks.
Warming the feet actually helps dilate blood vessels and dump heat from the core, cooling you down faster. The third pillar, chemistry. This brings us to the 10-3-2-1 rule. This is a countdown to bed that helps you manage the chemicals in your system. 10 hours before bed, no caffeine. Caffeine is an adenosine blocker. Adenosine is a chemical that builds up all day to make you feel tired. Caffeine blocks that signal. But here is the key. Caffeine has a half-life of about 5 to 6 hours. If you have a cup of coffee at 4 p.m., half of that caffeine is still in your brain at 10 p.m. fighting against your sleep. Cut it off early. 3 hours before bed, no food and no alcohol. We mentioned alcohol earlier. It's the biggest trap. It sedates you, but it destroys your sleep architecture. It causes sleep fragmentation. And eating late forces your body to focus on digestion rather than repair. It also raises your core body temperature, which we just learned is bad for sleep. 2 hours before bed, no work. You cannot go from answering stressful emails straight to deep sleep. Your brain needs a buffer zone to downshift from beta waves, alertness, to alpha waves, relaxation. 1 hour before bed, no screens. Use this time to read a physical book, listen to a podcast, or stretch. Part 5. What if you wake up? Even with all this, you might still wake up at 3 a.m. If that happens, here is what you must not do. Do not stay in bed fighting it. If you've been awake for more than 20 minutes, get up. Go to another room. Keep the lights dim. Read a book or listen to quiet music. Only go back to bed when you feel sleepy again. Why? Because if you stay in bed tossing and turning, your brain starts to associate the bed with stress and wakefulness. You want your brain to have a strong connection. Bed equals sleep. Nothing else. Conclusion. Restoring your sleep after 50 is not an overnight fix. It's a process of retraining decades of habits. But I want you to remember the why. You're doing this to clear the toxins from your brain. You're doing this to stabilize your blood sugar and protect your heart. You're doing this to be a kinder, more patient person for the people you love. Sleep is the most potent, natural performance-enhancing tool we have, and it's free. Start tonight with just one change. Maybe it's the morning sunlight. Maybe it's cutting the afternoon coffee. Pick one, master it, and then add another. Your body is resilient. It wants to sleep. You just have to get out of its way and give it the right environment. Thank you for your time, and I wish you a peaceful, unbroken night of rest.